They haven't met me. That's what I would tell them. You are only limited by yourself and the limitations you put on yourself. And I've never been one to put limitations on myself.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving some big problems. And, dadgummit, our friend James has posted a bug in my ears, much like Bob has. I'm sitting here. I've got a nice, crisp Texas A&M Corps of Cadets undershirt on. And my buddy James, my fashion consultant, Camden's fashion consultant, has told us that I ain't supposed to be showing my undershirt anymore. I don't know if it's anymore or what, but I tell you what, he and I gotta go have a whiskey and settle this one, because now I'm looking at it, I'm going, damn, I thought it looked good in the mirror when I put it on.
Gotta switch to the tank top, the wife beater. Come on.
Yeah, but then you don't see the
Look how much better that
That's
looks.
the problem.
That's the whole point.
I know. That again, 4 years of wearing a baseball belt. Those of you who don't know what a baseball belt is, it's an elastic belt that you put around your baseball britches when you're playing baseball. Except at A&M, we would tuck our undershirt into our tighty whities, pull it down through the legs in our tighty whities. Then we'd put on our shirt, take that baseball belt, put it around the tails of our shirt about butt high, so that it holds the tuck in our shirt. And now James is telling me so that I had, truthfully, we were supposed to have a horizontal line.
Yep.
See, this is curved.
Yep.
I don't have it tight enough. We were supposed to have a horizontal line. That's how tight it was supposed to be.
You're making me really glad I didn't go to A&M.
I was going to say we've been having a lot of Aggies around lately, but y'all are some freaking weirdos sometimes.
It's that you can't have dress right dress and it be curved. There is no dress right dress in a curve. I mean, formations are not done with a French curve. I can just tell you that. So James, when you listen to this, dude, give me a call. Help me out.
I got another complaint for James while we're there, actually, because you saw me fiddling with my buttons beforehand. I need a button in the middle here, because this one I feel too stuffy. If I go down there, now that's weird. That's cocktail hour type of thing. So I need something in the middle there, James, if you could talk to the fashion folks.
When you make enough money and you buy that one shirt like I did at A&M, the fancy one, that costs like $130.
Does it have the button right there?
It's got an extra button right up underneath there. It doesn't even show.
Oh my gosh! All right, well,
all right.
Let's go. Let's get to the show, Tresia, making some money. All right, I got shirts to buy.
Oh my goodness! See, Tresia is a dangerous woman, y'all. I love her to death, and I'm really excited to have her here today. But the conversations we were having in the green room, you want to talk about chasing rabbits, folks. We almost didn't hit record. We would have been here for 3 days and still hadn't hit record. Tresia, it is so good to see you, sweetheart.
Good to see you.
So I ain't gonna jump into where my smart ass Otis, because
I'm used to it. It's okay. I can take it.
I know you are. That's what's scary about it, because you throw it right back at me. We'll be throwing punches here.
I'll just sit down.
You are in a unique position because you're working for this wonderful organization called Texas A&M University Systems, teaching at the same time, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, Dr. Tresia. She is PhD'd on up, wrote all those papers, did all that writing that goes along with that to validate that she is as smart as she is. How are you managing to get that business up and running at the same time that you're sitting, and folks, again, pull over the side of the road, turn on the YouTube and watch the video. She's sitting in an obvious office, and this ain't a home office.
That's right.
If your home office looks like that, y'all got some problems. She's at work.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, how you're managing to get this business up and running at the same time that you are really using a crap ton of mental capacity to go out and educate the next business leaders in the world.
So I am a project manager at heart, Otis. So I'm always managing my schedule, managing myself, managing my husband and my family. And lucky for me, the classes I teach, they are classes I've taught many semesters before. So I've been teaching since 2021. And so because of that, and because I teach on the web, I can take my class modules, and Canvas allows me to copy and paste them into my new classroom shell. And so other than adapting dates or links that may be stale or materials that I want to add, that's really the only work I'm having to do. And then, of course, 6 to 9 p.m. at night and weekends when I have the energy, I'm working on that. So
working on what? The class or the business?
Oh, the business. Yeah.
The business. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You never know nowadays with the way you post things online and that sort of thing. So
I know. And you can set triggers to post stuff online at a certain rate. I've got to get into that. I'm talking to our EBV friends about how to do that. So,
well, somebody else in this room might know how to help you do that too.
Oh, good. Maybe.
But with that, Tresia, I'm curious, what to zoom out a little bit of, talking about balancing those two there. There's a lot of folks who have the school of thought of it's like, the whole talking about chasing rabbits, that you chase 2 rabbits, you catch neither, right? There's also us folks out there who, if we're doing one job all day, we would literally go crazy. I'm guessing you're a little bit more at that school over there. How do you kind of balance those two? Because it's always an interesting thing of, I could accept that I might have less success because I'm chasing these multiple things, but there's folks out there who could tell you you're going to fail in each one of them. What are your thoughts on that?
They haven't met me. That's what I would tell them. You are only limited by yourself and the limitations you put on yourself. And I've never been one to put limitations on myself. Now, the great news for me is not only did I love the Forest Service contract job that I had before I came to TAMU Kingsville, I had a great team that I was working with there, and I have an incredible team that I'm working with here. So that makes it a pleasure to come to work every day. And so there's that. There's the fact that they're supportive. They supported me in going to the EBV program at TAMU College Station. And so there's just a lot of
funny word she's saying, folks, is TAMU. Texas A&M University.
I keep waiting for you to whoop when she's saying it.
I don't whoop to TAMU. That's
oh, I see. As I was anyway. So anyway, I once my kids were grown and flown, I was kind of looking at retirement being a little bit boring. I love to golf. And I love to garden, but I just couldn't see myself doing that full time. So I started, I'd understood that I had a program called the Hazelwood Act available to me as a veteran who was commissioned in the state of Texas. So even though some of our kids had used some of those benefits, I had quite a bit left. And so I decided that, the one adventure I had not taken was to get a doctorate. And my undergrad from Baylor is in computer science. I went to Baylor on a full ROTC scholarship. I'm a first generation college graduate. My parents were enlisted, and we went all over the world, which was great because I think that really opened up my perspectives on life and what I could do. So I would say that the no boundaries approach that I have to life started with my military parents. And then when I won that scholarship to Baylor, I was immersed in such a huge difference of people, socioeconomic backgrounds, where they were from, what their cultures were, and I think that just really made it even clearer to me that I loved learning. I loved learning about people. I loved learning about different subjects. And so, of course, the first day I graduate from Baylor, I get stationed at Tinker Air Force Base as a second lieutenant. I go off to serve in my first assignment, and
by the way, Tinker is in Oklahoma, folks.
So yeah, sorry, Tinker Air Force Base.
That's not one of the nice ones. That's not one of the nice ones. Oh, I was hoping for you, Tresia.
Well, compared
my brothers
to
and sisters at Tinker, no harm, but you know what we mean.
Yeah. So while I was there, I had my second child, and then I also decided to get a master's degree from the University of Oklahoma. And I also got my pilot's license because I was determined to be an A-10 pilot in the Air Force. That's really what I want to do. And this will shock and amaze you both that I'm too short. So in the Air Force, you have to be able to fly any aircraft in the fleet. That includes a C-5 Galaxy all the way down to, a G-6 jet. And so I'm really good in most everything, except I can't get tip-to-tip extension on like a C-5 Galaxy. And if my co-pilot's down and I'm having to fly the plane by myself, then I have to be able to do that.
She also can't get the pepper off the top shelf in the kitchen.
Can't.
Your husband's tall.
That's right. I picked him for that reason. No.
Division of labor. There we go.
But then after I got assigned to Germany, next, I worked for NATO AWACS for 3 years. And, during all of this time that I'm active duty, I have these 2 young children. I'm deployed, I would say probably 200 out of 365 days in a year. And it was just really drawing on my heart to be away from my kids that much. And so I made the decision to get out, and I still had 2 years to serve in the reserves, but I was looking for work, and you guys would laugh at this. I actually interviewed at Enron in 98. Thank God I did not take that job, right?
You could have gotten some great stock options out there.
Until they went away, like real quick. So I took a consulting job in Dallas. Thank goodness for that, because you know how you learn the quickest as a civilian is as a consultant. So, and luckily I had a former Navy spouse who was my boss, and she could look at my resume and said, all this software development and stuff that you did in the military is called project management out here. And if you'll go and get this certification, you'll be the first in our company to have that. And it would really help us going after deals to be able to say that you're a certified project manager. I was like, cool, okay. So I went and did that. And then I just kind of went off into my career. And so I actually started the company Otis back in 2011 when I published.
I didn't realize it was, man, I thought it was sooner. I thought it was more like 2020 or so.
No, 2011, because my co-author and I of our book that got published in 2014, we were going to make our millions going around training and publishing professional books. Mm-hmm. And needless to say, after our book was published, she had the nerve to fall in love with this dude and get married and run away with him. And so she sold me my part of her part of the company for $1. And then, it was on me. And between finishing raising my family and trying to stay married and trying to stay employed, I just didn't have the bandwidth to do all the marketing and all the things you have to do when you're, a business owner. And so an opportunity came my way in 2014 where a CIO friend of mine needed me to come in and implement Workday. And that's where I really shifted the company from being a publishing and training company to being a technology consulting company. And so, so I delivered Workday in about a year and a half for her. And guess what happened? I'm not out there selling my next gig. So Tresia goes back to work as a W-2 employee of another company. And I did that for a while. And then in 2023, like a miracle, because I was at a very large bank that shall remain nameless, that was literally driving me into the grave. A gentleman reached out to me who had a contract with the U.S. Forest Service. And this was in 23 when I was really about to pull my last hair out. And so just a great guy. I actually have been told now by our friends at ABV that I need to interview him as to how he found me on LinkedIn, because it's a miracle, right, that he did. And he tells me this job that he needs me to come work for the Chief Technology Officer of the Forest Service and be a subcontractor to him and do all this project management and set up a PMO. And I'm just like, I think I've died and gone to heaven, because I'm married to a Marine. I have an Eagle Scout son. And so we love the national forest, the national parks. So I was like beside myself. So I went there. I had a fabulous 2.5-year run with them. And then my contract was cut. And so husband sat down, we made a plan. We had 6 months for me to find a new contract. And when I wasn't able, I was applying every opportunity I got. I had like 25 RFPs that I'd responded to and just could not get a deal. And so I put my resume out there locally and had this wonderful job offer within a few weeks. It took a while for them to bring me on, just because, the Texas A&M University hiring process, but but it was pretty quick that they found me and were interested in hiring me. So,
let's talk about the forest. Because,
okay.
I like the woods. Camden ain't got no woods. He just has sand.
My wife worked for the Forest Service out here. Go up, look up on the mountain there. Once you get up high enough, this cactus start, and there's trees. I swear to God, just believe
there is. hidden in the north-facing valleys, there's some trees. But how much? I mean, did you really get to go out into the forest, or were you back at the HQ doing stuff and looking at pictures and talking to people that go out into the forest? How much of your project management role was getting out in the woods?
Unfortunately, none. Right. The products that I was building, we were tracking invasive species and things that were going extinct. We were using artificial intelligence.
All right. It's a special forces joke. Did you ever have to track the red cockaded woodpecker?
I did not.
Okay. Well, must not have done anything back east then. Yeah.
Is that a snipe hunt for green berets at Q course?
Say again?
Is that a snipe hunt for green berets at Q course?
No, it's a real thing, but it's one of those. This area is designated as the red cockaded woodpecker nesting area. Therefore, you can pass through, but you are not allowed to stop.
Okay.
One really cool thing we were doing was we were using AI to try to detect where lightning strikes could start a wildfire. So, you had maps of thunderstorms and common places that the lightning would strike. And if they were in drought, it was a high probability that would start a wildfire. And, managing wildfires is a big part of what we do in the Forest Service. So helping to protect our firefighters and just helping them be more effective in protecting our national forests, that was a great gig. And
how accurate was that? I mean, if you're doing the predictive analysis, what were y'all, fairly
Did you fix it?
Yeah.
Well, I would have if I hadn't got cut by Doge, but...
All right, so I'm writing Doge a letter when the forest catches on fire saying...
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Y'all should have let this girl go. What were y'all thinking?
Teresa, talking about those different experiences there, I'm curious. You mentioned getting out of the military and how consulting is the best because it kind of opens you up to that wide variety there. And then you talking through your career journey, there's definitely a wide variety that you were going through as well. What do you think is the key to kind of connecting those dots and stacking those skills rather than just being somebody who had the crazy job at one point and then went on to another crazy job and bounced around?
I wish I could tell you there was a method to my madness. I feel just really lucky because, my dissertation was actually interviewing many, many, many veterans about their transition. That was actually what my research was. And there were so many very, very tragic stories about, how hard it is to transition out of the military. I was super lucky. I was working for a commander who, he was sad to see me go, but he wasn't like combative with me about it. My husband, on the other hand, when he was getting out of the Marine Corps, it was very different for him, but he was very supportive. And so although I was limited on permissive TDY to come back to the States and look for a job, what he could do for me, he did. And so I had a job before I was actually separated. So I had a job at the end of November of 98 before I was actually separated on the 12th of December 98. So that's pretty unheard of. That's pretty exceptional. So I was very lucky. I had a very supportive family. My in-laws were, watching the kids in Waco, and that just set me free to look for jobs in Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you've ever been to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's a lot of opportunity there. And I got hooked up with a group called the Lucas Group. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Lucas Group, but they hire young officers coming out of the military. Oh, why? Because it's like a no-lose deal for them, right? You've already got your education. People love veterans and military because if they don't think we're crazy, they know we have a great work ethic. And so yeah, I had a position and was hired on. And the reason why I think consulting taught me everything was, I was in technology in the military, but how much of that could I translate outside into the real world, right? Because I was loading tapes on an AWACS jet and working with code that looked like punch cards, right? So when I got out in the real world, you're dealing with, back then it was C+ and all these fancy coding languages and fancy computers that we didn't even have on the AWACS jet. And so you just had to be able to adapt and learn quickly and, teach yourself, not necessarily be depending on other people to teach you, which I think is a real problem in the civilian world.
Let's dissect something, because I mean, truthfully, I don't believe in luck, because you create the opportunity and you look for the opportunity. And what I heard you say, and what I've known several men in this case also who had commanders that supported them in that that transition period in various ways and things like that. And then you got lucky and got the job. Well, let's dissect that, because in the military, you don't get to choose your boss. Mm-mm. But you have to learn to deal with your boss. Right. And you dealt with your boss, and you had wanted to take care of you.
Right.
Are you saying, Dad, that she wasn't lucky? She just knew how to play the system and communicate and those kind of things. I think there's a lot of folks out there who confuse the two. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you make the best of the situation.
Yeah.
If the guy's an asshole, then you learn to deal with assholes. If the guy's great and cares about his people, you learn how to deal with that. And but what I want you to help us explain and understand, and maybe do some reflection on this, is how did you pick that right job getting out? Because there's something that happened there that puts you on this path that's allowed you to do what you want to do. And a lot of people, and we were talking with Joe about this the other day, a lot of people don't choose that because they ain't looking for it. They don't realize they can choose it. But you, whether you knew it or not, did. So talk to us a little bit about that. how you chose that path.
Well, back then we weren't looking at LinkedIn and Indeed and all of that for jobs, right? And so I really depended on, my mom's best friend lived in Dallas, Fort Worth. She worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. Her husband, Sonny Bryant, also worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. And so they took me in for 2 months just to live with them. My family's in Waco, and I'm living with them looking for work. And so I had already been connected with the Lucas Group, and they helped me get my resume sorted because I couldn't even tell you, Otis, how probably awful my resume was and didn't really reflect, translating all of that AWACS stuff into language that the civilian world could understand. And so, they helped me get that sorted out. They helped me interview. There's all kinds of things, like I know how to salute.
Oh, they helped you, but they helped you because
they saw the potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
They saw the potential.
And because you did something also.
I was working hard.
You raised your hand and said, "Hey, anybody got any ideas?"
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I don't know what to do here. Anybody got any suggestions?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Really.
That's
no idea. Parents, military, grandparents, military, in-laws, military, nobody in the business world. And the closest we had was Judy and Sonny. So anyway, I did ask for help. And that is something else that I think a lot of veterans have trouble asking for help or admitting they don't know something.
Talk about asking for help. There's another aspect of that you referenced earlier, Tresia, which was the ability to learn without the teacher. I think raising your hand, and when there's a teacher that's able to come help, like, hey, Tresia, here's how you got to do this. Otis, here's what's going on. Like, that's always great. There's also plenty of situations, like you said, where you don't really get that teacher. There's nobody really providing those lessons, and you have to go seek them out. Can you boil it down? Just because you're a teacher, I'm like, can you boil that down to a key point? What's the vocab word you like to use on that?
I call it digging in. Those are 2 words, but I call it digging in. I think a lot of people take no for an answer, and a lot of people just accept what they're given instead of really questioning and turning information over, realizing the source of the information, or asking for more information, or being able to go and find more information. I've just, my call sign in the military, among other things, was Bulldog, because when I get a hold of something, I'm just not going to let go. So
it wasn't because you were short?
Oh,
no.
That's mean. Come on, Dad.
That's all right. I can handle it.
Not the first one.
So anyway, I'm having way too much fun.
Yeah, well, the other thing that and I have personal experience in this too, and I just want your perspective on it, is the fact that you took everything you learned in the military and repackaged it into this project management thing.
That's right.
Talk us through that a little bit, in that sense of the foundation of things, the hows and the systems that you learn while you're in the Air Force, and how that applies into project management. Because I think that's something that a lot of veterans, me included, when I first, because my attitude after retirement was, thank you very much, United States Army, I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't need that shit anymore. I go do business.
Yeah.
Go down
well,
business.
I think the difference for me was that, I didn't know anything else but the Air Force when you think about it, right? That was my whole world. And so when I had the boss that was the former Navy spouse, and she said, so when you worked with Boeing on the AWACS contract, you were communicating requirements. You took requirements from the AWACS crew back to Boeing, and Boeing changed the software based on your communication to them about what your crew needed versus what they had built, which wasn't working for them. And so she broke it down into terms that communicated what it was in the military that became what was valuable in the civilian world. She was really the first person to do that. Lucas Group just took my resume and did it, and then pushed it out to all of their clients. And then the client
never explained it, how they did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No. And so she was the first one that really did that with me. And then she said, when you were making these changes and testing the software at Nellis over, in a flag exercise or something, or when you were over Iraq and you were using the software and you saw defects in the software, this is called software development in the civilian world. And you did a lot of it. And because you did all of these years of it, it adds up to this 4,500 hours you have to have in order to take this certification exam. She was that crystal clear about it. And she just went through my experience, my OPR, and just said, this is what you did. This is what you did. And then, I came out with a Defense Meritorious Service Medal, which I know is not like a Bronze Star or anything, but, that was significant. That was significant for a young captain who'd only served 6 years. And she was like, you should not play that down. You need to understand what that means here in the civilian world. That means we see you as someone not only who served your country, but you did it with honor and at a high level. And that's something you can leverage in the civilian world. So, I really thank her for her help in kind of drawing out of me, kind of like you're doing, Otis, drawing out of me the information and how to repackage it for the civilian world, because I don't think many of us get that.
No, they don't.
Right.
What the one thing? Did you have something, Kim?
No, I was a little bit of a change of direction though. So if you got one in that area, go ahead. Or you want me to change? I got left turn.
It's a pivot. It's a small pivot. But
all right, I'm going then. So talking about transition and, Tresia, your insights on the military side of it, I'm interested into how you apply that now with your students. Because it's a very different type of transition, but there is that transition of the academia to real world. That wonderful optimism of going to start a business. Then you get out there like, wait, nobody wants to buy my stuff. What the hell's going on? Like, there's all those things that can happen, right? I went through a lot of that myself, right? What are your thoughts?
5-gallon buckets out on the back porch.
Oh gosh, yeah, 5-gallon buckets and those 15-gallon drums. Yeah, did not work, but it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of lessons. Going back to it though, Tresia, what are your thoughts there on preparing those students for that transition? Because there's always, this is where I think it's different than the military transition, is because there's some advice you can give, but it's also one of those, like, you can't really get told wisdom. You kind of have to learn wisdom yourself. What are your thoughts on that as far as that transition out of college goes?
Yeah, we could talk about that in so many ways. Like, can you really teach leadership? Can you really teach wisdom? And so I don't think so. All I can do for them is I say, okay, the book says this. Let me tell you about real life. And that's how I do it. And luckily, with over 30 years of experience, I can map a lot of the things that are explained in the book, maybe in a way that I don't find effective. Not that I won't use the book, because Texas A&M University Corpus Christi says I have to use that book. So I'm going to use the book, but I'm just going to put the Dr. Eaves spin on it and say, what they're talking about here is a very academic way of looking at XYZ. What my experience is when I did ABC, this is how I handled it. And so I just talk to them like that, and it seems to be working. So they keep me around.
Oh, I think that's great. The other layer of that is what do you think, and there might not be much of an answer on this one, might be more of a pontification type of situation, but there is this value to the optimism that we kind of joke about coming out of college, of I can go solve all the problems. I had a conversation with a friend actually just a couple days ago about this, and it's like, looking back now, I'm graduated 8 years ago, and it's like, yeah, now I know I probably can't solve all those problems. I might be able to solve one or two, and there's this realism to it. But if you let that completely go away, you let the optimism completely go away, now no one's solving problems. And so what are your thoughts on keeping that optimism while getting some of that real world experience?
So I think to a certain extent, my optimism is natural. It's not as though, my parents taught me to be optimistic or the world taught me to be optimistic. I have just always felt that I am worthy. I am worthy. And, thank God for that feature of me, because there have been so many trials and tribulations in my life that I've been able to remain optimistic. And so I'm just really grateful for the ability to always see the silver lining. Now, I might be angry as all get out in the moment. Otis may have saw some of that. But in the long
run, some distance between us. That's all I got.
In the long run, I know that everything's going to be okay. And so I've just always been that way, and I try to instill that in my children. I have about a 50% success rate, so I probably have less than that in my students. But I think optimism makes us live longer, and resilience and perseverance and all of those things that we think a lot of veterans have. I don't know how we did that. I don't know where we got that. There was nobody yelling at me except in officer training camp to do more push-ups or spell Schwarzkopf while I'm doing push-ups or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a lot of that for me. And I didn't go to an enlisted basic training, which my Marine husband would joke was the real basic training. So
depends on which coast he went to, by the way. Just so you know, when you go home for dinner tonight. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. Well, he didn't go to the East Coast; he went to the West Coast. Was that cushy?
Yeah.
I almost asked this earlier when we were joking about Tinker, and I was going to ask y'all how many actual good bases are there. Pendleton at San Diego comes to mind as I would guess that's a pretty good one. San Diego's a nice little spot out there. What else is there if we could get this tangent done real quick, y'all? What are some good bases you've heard of or been to?
I ain't been to any of them.
God damn.
Or stationed at any of them, I can tell you that.
I'm thinking
the Army does not have any good bases.
That's
Fort Carson's got to be up there then, because Fort Carson's not bad. You got Colorado Springs, you got the mountains. It's pretty.
I bet Pensacola has a nice base just because it's right there on the beach. I've been to Keesler. I can promise you that one's
actually
not good.
Yeah, where they moved 7th Group down to Pensacola. That's a pretty good setup for them fellas down there now.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for helping with my curiosity on that.
Oh, yeah, you are welcome.
Well, I want to the one thing that never translates is money, because in your role you never worried about what's it going to cost to do a software update or anything like that. How have you overcome that to continue to run a business, because if there ain't money in the bank, there ain't no business.
Well, it was survival, right? So not only that first job that I was telling you about, even though I was very grateful to the lady who helped me understand and translate my military experience, at the same time, we were bidding on deals where, when I did the math, we were paying more to deliver the project than we were making. So
somebody emailed me about one of those yesterday, and I'm like, I ain't touching that shit.
Yeah, real quick, I realized, out here in the real world, they have to pay money to pay all of us, and then they have to pay money for this hardware and software that we're implementing. And they ain't making that much from the client. So how long is this going to work? So that was the first one. As far as my company goes, I never took any small business loans. I never opened a line of credit. I had my honeypot of money, and what I was going to do with that before the contract got cut was I was going to hire a part-time business development person. And I was going to have them focus on looking at RFPs as they were coming out from all the different sources, even more sources now, Otis, because of all the changes. I mean, service disabled, veteran owned is about the only game in town anymore. And so I would have had them focus on, filtering those down to the real opportunities. But yeah, when
what was the trigger that, or indicator, whichever way you want to look at it, that you got to that point where you're like, you know what, I think we should do this, bring somebody on. What were the indicators that you saw?
3 years of consistent income. So once I saw that I had 3 years of consistent money coming in for my company, then I felt like, okay, I can accept this level of risk and go ahead and hire someone to focus on that. So yeah, that was my plan.
So what's the plan now? I mean, it's still there.
Yeah, of course, it's still here. So I don't know if you know this, but when you work as a professor in the state of Texas, you get access to what's called the retirement system. And so after you've worked so many years, you get a retirement. So I would be able to have my military, my commercial or civilian sector, and then I could have my Texas retirement plus Social Security if it's still around, whatever. Anyway, so I would definitely want to at least work here, and just the quality of the people and the programs that I'm trying to start here at Kingsville. Texas A&M University, Kingsville. Just based on that, I'm thinking probably 2 to 3 years to be here and make a difference. And then hopefully my honey pot's built back up and I can go out in the world again.
When you look at like going out into the world with that and those next pieces, I'd love to kind of get into like the planning process with that as you look at the scaling and the kind of impact that you want to have with that. Looking forward a bit, what does that plan look like? How do you plan to continue to scale those operations?
So luckily, because of this boot camp we went to, I met some great people who want to work with me now. So I've got I've got Ken and Tree, and we all have some slant on technology. And so, they're getting me into an NDA and teaming agreements to go after contracts with them. What might end up happening, and I'm perfectly prepared for this, Cam, is that, and I have a lot of people who have signed up to want to be those people, is if I can't do the work that needs to be done, I will hire that person to come on and work for me in that capacity. So yeah, it's that's how I would scale, is through these relationships that I've built. Jose Quintana, he's another one, Otis, who wants to take my books and articles and research and turn those into products and get me training again. And I've told him the same thing. If you want me, it's going to be 2 to 3 years. If you want me to hire someone, I got people lined up. Just tell me what you want.
I want to shift gears on something, because I want to take advantage of It's been since Dr. Quello was on that we've had an actual professor.
Yes, sir.
We've had some past professors and some future professors, but what's going on in the education world, because AI is all over the place, and we hear not as much anymore, so I think everybody just accepts it. Students are writing papers and stuff like that using AI. What has changed from your perspective in how you present and how you teach what you're teaching?
So first of all, I love AI. And as a former, programmer, coder, I come from the world of where AI came from, right? And so I'm not scared of it. I know already how it can increase productivity. Even here, we have a programmer who was looking at some SQL code. It's a database query language, and she was saying that it's very complex and convoluted, and Tresia, you were talking about tools that you know of that can take in my code and help me optimize it. And so I was like, yeah, try this. And she went and she tried it, and she came back and she said, well, it's fantastic. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. And that's what I teach my students. It's not going to do it for you. And thank God Blackboard and Canvas all have detectors in them that a certain percentage of my paper has been written with AI. And so I can just
I thought those detectors had gotten wiped out by the anti-detectors.
I think they came back around. From my understanding, because that did happen. That was a thing going on. Yeah.
There's a watermark.
It's an arms race.
Yeah, it's exactly. And so, it'll come with a certain percentage of this student has used, 65% of the paper's been written with AI. And I'll tell them, I don't mind if you write the paper and use AI to make it better. I'm good with that. What I will not allow is for you to put a prompt into whatever and get a paper spit out. Because A, I will know it, and B, many of them are not smart enough to remove the code that the AI agent puts in there that says, you asked me to build you a paper that says this.
So when the first line on the essay is, sure, I can do that, that's a dead giveaway.
Or at the end, you had asked me to write this paper for you with however many words.
I mean, it's like, goddamn, son. Come on.
How'd you get into MBA? How'd you get into a business school?
Tresia, with that, is how much truth is there? Because from outside looking, I've been out of school for a while, coach with U of A, so I'll talk with students every now and then. I ain't talking about school that much, but the little bit I have put together seems like there was a struggle, kind of like you were hinting at, Dad. The software to detect the AI for writing has gotten a lot better, and it seems like it's shaking out to this kind of place where it's like the good professors who really know their stuff and can teach well are doing fine, and it's the people who may not have been a great teacher in the first place that then the AI is kind of breaking their courses. How much truth is there to that perception?
That is so true. And not to diminish the people who went straight through, right? So when I was getting my doctorate, I was in school with people who had gone straight through their bachelor's, their master's, right into their doctoral program. And so you have to ask yourself, well, how much real world experience are you bringing to the table? Well, some of them went out and got it. They're working while they're getting their PhD. They were working while they were getting their master's, bachelor's even. And so, so they know that not everything they're reading in these papers and books is real life. And so others, bless their heart, drank the academic Kool-Aid, and that's really all they know. And so I really try to sort through what is useful to the student from the academic perspective and what is useful to the student based on my experience. And so you are absolutely right. But there's also the folks that went straight through that really, I'm thinking of one in particular in my doctoral cohort that she was just brilliant and was able to communicate to her students, and as an archivist, because my program that I went through was part librarian and archival until I split off into my specialty. But so hopefully that helps.
I'm going to reemphasize something that I don't think can be said enough is what I learned today, and that's your outlook. It has very little to do with the environment. Actually, it has nothing to do with the environment at all. It has to do with how you accept or don't accept the environment. So you can be lucky if you believe you're lucky, and you can be lucky every goddamn day. Or you can believe hee-haw. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Yeah, you can believe that every day. So it's always up to you. Camden,
That's
how about
right.
you? What'd you learn?
Actually, in the same vein on that, I think it's the understanding the skill underneath the luck. And I think specifically with what we were kind of joking about there is the like ability to read people and to meet people where they are and work with people who you might not want to work with, but you got to learn how to speak their language. And it is just such an important skill. You know, I've used this joke to people before of it's like, yeah, well, you know, some people can get lucky and have people get them the right paperwork and all these kind of things we're talking about, Tresia. And some people get in fights at the checkout line at Walmart. Like we all kind of make our choices, and you know, the way you act with people around you does have a big effect on how things go.
Tresia, how about you? What'd you learn?
I learned that I still have relevant stories to tell about my transition out of the military. I feel like sometimes I don't get to tell those, or that people aren't interested in those. But you guys are, so that's really awesome. And I have learned that I actually like Texas A&M University.
Well, they're signing your paycheck right now, so you better be careful what you're saying. There is no editing on notice.
No, it's good. It's all good. Yeah. I've been converted.
Awesome. Tresia, how do folks find you, learn more about what you got going on, sign up for your class next semester?
Oh, well, I'm in the UNT catalog. I'm in the Texas A&M University Corpus Christi catalog, and I'm also on LinkedIn. Can't spell my name any other way, so Tresia Eaves. Look for me on LinkedIn, and then you can also reach me at tresia.eaves@gmail.com.
Awesome. Tresia.
And folks, she hinted at it, but check the title, check the show notes for the spelling on Tresia there.
For sure.
Yeah. Tresia, it's been so much fun having you here today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Camden, run us out.
I'm going to look this way. Sorry, y'all. It's going to be awkward. All right. So thank y'all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Dr. Tresia Eaves, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive episode is available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time. At the right angle.